What's up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 8 of Let's Talk Wrestling. In today's episode I am going to be covering the GOAT, John Felix Anthony Cena. Obviously he's a huge talking point in the wrestling community, as he generally always is, but even more so because his farewell tour, the last time is now, has begun. We're over a month into it and we have only seen John Cena appear twice. And he's faced some scrutiny for that. Whether you think that is justified or not is up to you. Leave that in the comments down below, along with any other thoughts you have about it, if you want. Yeah, if you want. And I'm just going to talk about mine today. So yeah, I think that is unjustified. I don't think it's anything that John Cena has done wrong. I think a lot of it is media and people taking things and running with them a bit, you know. In his press conferences at Money in the Bank and like following that and talking about his final tour, his farewell tour, he made it pretty clear. I mean, provisionally, I think he said 30 to 40 dates. He then said 36 dates, which, you know, if you spread that across the year, you average it out, that means he's going to appear 3 times a month. If you take out the pay-per-views, assuming that he works every single pay-per-view of the year, and assuming there's 12 pay-per-views this year, that means we're getting him on weekly TV twice a month. And that doesn't even include Saturday night's main event if he chooses, or if he's involved in any of them, because they're not pay-per-views, they're not weekly shows, they're sort of specials. So that's not taking that into account either. So 2 weekly shows a month. So he could be on 1 episode of Raw, 1 episode of SmackDown, or 2 episodes of Raw, 2 episodes of SmackDown a month, which isn't much. And it isn't full-time. Some people assumed, or like, well, wishful thinking wanted him to be full-time, but that's not how it works. We know that at the minute he's not going to show up until Elimination Chamber, which to me makes sense. In my fantasy booking video, which I'll leave up here if you're interested in seeing my take on how I'd like to see it go, I think I had John Cena show up at the Raw after the Royal Rumble, because I had him lose it and be thrown out by The Rock last, which I was pretty close because he was thrown out by Jey Uso last, who is a cousin of The Rock, or a nephew. Is he a nephew? I think he's his nephew somehow. So I had that happen, and then at the Raw after, he sort of sets his sights on the Elimination Chamber and qualifies for it. That's all I had though. He doesn't show up again before the Chamber, he's just at the Chamber after that. So I was sort of right there. He didn't show up for Raw, but he did qualify for it automatically because he just declared himself for it, because he's John Cena. He can do that, you know. He's got that pull. He can politic if he wants to. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Jey Uso winning it over him was part of his idea. You know, because he'll know his schedule. He'll know that he's like in Hungary at the minute filming. So maybe him winning the Rumble and then not showing up for potentially even 2 months, because he might not even show up at the Elimination Chamber, then that seems worse than him losing it and then he shows up at the Chamber and then Mania. But yeah, I wasn't expecting him to show up around this time really, and I don't see why you would. I think there's 3 main points over the year where we'll see most of his appearances. I would say around WrestleMania, around SummerSlam, because that's the second biggest show, and then around the end of the year when he actually hangs up his boots. So we don't know, obviously, because we're not going to see him until the Elimination Chamber. How much we see him after that and into WrestleMania, that will probably increase, I would imagine. You know, we've got 33 dates to work with after that. I would imagine we'll see him more in March, because WWE are coming over to the UK, doing a bit of a tour in March for like the Road to WrestleMania stuff. You've got to imagine he's going to show up there, because John Cena loves it over here. He came out at the O2 for Money in the Bank in 2023 and he loved it, and he was saying about a WrestleMania in London. Obviously he's not going to be there if it ever does happen. Hopefully it does happen, but he's not going to be there if it does, which is unfortunate. But I think he is definitely going to show up there. So like there's a Raw on the 31st of March, and what is it, the 28th there's a SmackDown. I'd imagine he'll show up on one of them, or maybe both of them, because he did say he wants to be on all the international shows as well, as much as he can. You know, Elimination Chamber's in Canada, is it? I think it's in Toronto, which isn't exactly international. You know, they get enough shows, to be honest. I would take it a bit further than that. Not saying Saudi, like they've done before, but like it was in Australia last year, which was cool. So other places like that, and I imagine will be in his sort of schedule more than weekly TV in like random states, other than like maybe Boston. He'll show up in Boston because that's his hometown, and there's rumors that towards like the end of the year he'll have a show, they're planning a pay-per-view in Boston called Ruthless Aggression, because that's obviously where he started, by slapping Kurt Angle after he said Ruthless Aggression and all that. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I think that's where we'll see most of the dates, particularly around WrestleMania, you know, but in the lead up to build the feud, and after it, when he wins the title, perhaps. Potentially the same thing with SummerSlam if he wins the Intercontinental title around that time, because I would like to see that for him to become a Grand Slam champion. And then at the end of the year, I think that will probably be his most full-time-ish sort of time, because, well, that's it. It will be our last month or so with John Cena. So that's the way I see it happening. I'm not mad about anything as of right now. You know, after Elimination Chamber, you have 33 dates with about 10 months to work with. And I think, you know, if you sort of lay off the appearances early on, that means that you can then sort of stockpile them, and you can have more of a full-time run towards the end of the year. And that's what I assume is going to happen. Now, his road to WrestleMania, I wouldn't say it's been thrown off, because I didn't expect him to win the Royal Rumble. However, I did expect him to go on to WrestleMania to fight Gunther. And the man who threw him out of the Royal Rumble last, Jey Uso, now seems like he will be facing Gunther, which is obviously a weird choice. A lot of the sort of issue around Jey Uso winning, I think, is because Gunther beat him the week before. So there's not really as much interest in the feud as there would be. And I don't think people are as hyped or excited about it, because Gunther has just beat Jey. And when Gunther's saying stuff and he's trash talking him, you're not really thinking, yeah, come on, Jey, the big underdog. You're thinking, no, that's right. Gunther's right. You're not on his level. And it's a shame that Jey will probably end Gunther's reign, because his reign hasn't been great. He's not really had any big competitors, you know. His reign has mainly been putting guys like Priest and Jey into the limelight more. And it's not really what he deserved, I don't think. Another man that's been affected by it, obviously, is CM Punk, who was my personal pick to win the Royal Rumble. Obviously, that didn't happen. So we now are likely to see CM Punk, Roman, and Seth in that triple threat. And I do like the triple threat. But there's 3 blood feuds in there. There is 3 huge WrestleMania matches in there. And it's like they're not choosing any one of them. Punk versus Rollins has been building for a long time. Obviously, we saw it on the first episode of Raw on Netflix. Like, they actually moved that to then, because I think the original plan was for them to have a WrestleMania match, which would make more sense for, I suppose, I don't know what it would make more sense. That it would make more sense for Punk to then be in the main event scene, to be challenging Gunther or Cody, who I'll get onto in a second, because it will then free him up from Seth. But now he's being dragged into Seth and Roman, when we could have a match between Punk and Roman, or Rollins and Roman. Obviously, that's the obvious match for me, Rollins and Roman. It doesn't have to be this year, but I think it's got to happen at some point. You know, you got The Rock versus Roman, you got Jacob versus Roman. You could do either of those this year, or potentially next year, if that's what you want to build to, and have Punk versus Seth this year. You know, we were robbed of Punk Seth last year, and now we're in a different place, so it's like they're not doing that. They're now adding Roman to it, because Roman now doesn't have the title. So what is he going to do? And now they've written him off so that he's not in the chamber, because he doesn't want to take the pin or something, which he's not going to win a Mania, really, surely, against Punk. I would assume Punk will win out of Seth and Roman. but that affects him, obviously. The next man that is affected by it all, Cody Rhodes. Because now it looks like Cody versus Cena will be the match at WrestleMania. I mean, I'm assuming it could still be Punk, you know, you never know. I don't know how the Chamber qualifiers are going right now. It's not going to be The Rock, surely. It's too late for that. I think he either won the Rumble or that was it. I don't know. You know, I think we've taken Kevin Owens out of the equation because him and Sammy are now probably going on to Mania to face each other. So it's a weird one. And now Solo's came back and he's attacked Cody. Bear in mind, it's WrestleMania in like less than 3 months now. Well, probably like exactly 3 months away or something like that. Not 3 months, like 2 months. Because we're in February. A month to March and a month to April, yeah. So we're like 2 months away, about 60 days out from WrestleMania, and it just doesn't make any sense right now. I thought I was going to fantasy book it, but I can't make sense of much of it. One way in which I would maybe go with that is leave Cody. Cody and Punk would still tear the house down, absolutely. That'd be a fantastic match. You can remove Cena's belt for a while, and you can leave that for a bit, because who else at WrestleMania seems to not have an opponent? Mr. Randall Keith Orton. And there's your WrestleMania match potentially, but the thing is, I think his last ever Mania, Cena has the main event. Is he going to main event in a normal match with Randy Orton? Probably not. I think at Ruthless Aggression, Cena's own pay-per-view, probably will. Cena that much shorter than Randy? Surely he isn't. That's got to be inaccurate, right? Cena's not that much shorter than Randy. But yeah, I don't know what I see happening, but I'm definitely not pissed off about, well, not about Cena's farewell tour. The rest of it, I'm not best pleased with, you know. I think Triple H and a lot of WWE higher-ups potentially have lost a bit of faith. Lost some good faith in the community now with the Jay decision. I mean, it's a huge choice. It's a huge surprise option, and you know they've pulled the trigger on the guy who's over. It's just that, you know, we have complained about that not happening in the past, and now that it is, we're complaining why him. So I mean, wrestling fans are fickle, obviously. I would have liked to see LA Knight in a similar position. I would argue that LA Knight is better on the mic and better in the ring than Jey Uso, but Jey Uso is a huge attraction, and I don't have a problem with him. I just don't think he should be the one ending Gunther's reign. I still think Chad Gable should. Obviously for the Intercontinental title, I think he should have, but even for the world title, why not? I don't know. I would have been fine with Cena ending it. Cena doesn't have to have a long reign, he just has to have a reign to make it his 17th. But yeah, I feel like I'm sort of just rambling now, which is basically what this series is, to be fair. But I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please do like the video and subscribe with post notifications on to be updated about any other uploads I may post. Hopefully a fair few, you know. And that will help me get to 400 subscribers, because we're only 2 away, which is pretty cool. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.